Hello, vinyl community, and anyone else watching this. It's been a little while. I'm sorry about that. And I've been having camera troubles. I always have troubles of one kind or another. Anyway, I thought I wanted to make a video, need to make a video, just a little bit about Tom Petty. I'm still sad. It's now Wednesday, and I'm still sad about it. I was at a thrift store, and a guy that listens to my podcast, who knows who I am, came up and said, "Did you hear about Tom Petty?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "He's dead." Of course, he wasn't dead. In fact, they didn't pronounce him dead till pretty much later that night. But for all intents and purposes, he was. And I was blown away by this. Went straight home, and I put together what will be this week's podcast on my show. It'll be a tribute to Tom Petty for anybody interested in that. Please check it out. It's just going to be about 21, 22 of songs that I really love by him, and a little bit of this at the beginning. So anyway, I got that done, and I had to go to a concert Monday night by a band called Bash and Pop, who is Tommy Stinson out of the Replacements band. And there's an irony there in that the last time I'd seen Tommy Stinson was in Syracuse in 1989, opening for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers at the Syracuse State Fair. And that concert's slightly famous because Axl Rose flew in a helicopter, disrupting the Replacements show. They made the Replacements get off. People weren't happy about that. And then Axl Rose did his encore with Tom Petty. And not my favorite show, just because of the situation. And I was way down on the floor and I couldn't see anything because everybody kept standing up, and then they'd stand in their chairs, and I gave up and just sat down after a while. But it was ironic that that night I saw Tommy Stinson again. And he walked out onto the stage, and the first words out of his mouth were, "It's a sad, sad day." Of course, not just because of Tom Petty, but because of the massive shooting in Las Vegas. And like I said, I'm still a bit, just sad and not myself about the whole thing. Tom Petty meant a lot to me. For me, he was the last rock star. It turned into punk and new wave and bands and everything after him. I suppose Springsteen before him would be the second to last rock star, really. But Petty was really the last rock and roll guy to come out before everything changed. And that's important, and he was important. And trying to do the podcast, I just realized, and I skipped most of his hits, just how many of fantastic songs he has. I could have easily done a 50-song mini cast, but you can't do that. So I don't know if you can tell, I'm still pretty shook up about this. Again, 2 days later. He was a fantastic songwriter. He could play swamp rock as good as Creedence Clearwater and John Fogerty, and he could be the Byrds. Just an incredibly talented songwriter, great guitar player, knew how to put a band together, and knew how to do a live show, knew how to do everything. Didn't make any terrible records, made some great ones. And that's not to mention his contributions with the 2 Traveling Wilburys albums and the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Johnny Cash American albums. Are all very much Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers albums as well. They wouldn't have been there without Tom Petty. So I guess we just should be grateful that we had him, and for as short a time as we did. And that's really pretty much everything I have to say. If there's anybody younger watching this and doesn't know that much about Petty and wants to learn after all this is going on, I recommend starting with the 2-record greatest hits. That's got a lot of coverage on it. It's just called Tom Petty's Greatest Hits. Full Moon Fever is one I highly recommend on vinyl. Everything's on vinyl now. King's Highway is one I recommend on vinyl. And of course the first 4 albums, 5 even maybe, are all you can't go wrong. And then there's just a couple of his later ones. The Last DJ is really good. Saving Grace is really good. Of course, the 2 Wilburys albums, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Johnny Cash American music albums. A lot of stuff out there, and there's a lot more too. I'm just sort of at a loss. So I guess that's about it. Check out my podcast. It'll be on this weekend. snapcracklepop.podomatic.com. And rest in peace, Tom. You enriched all of our lives. Thanks for watching, everybody.